This video will show you how to replace the harmonic balancer on a Pontiac Grand Prix with a 3.8-liter engine. This will be located on the passenger side of your engine, accessed behind your right front wheel. Let's get into it. A quick note about doing this job, we will have to remove the passenger side front wheel, so make sure you're in a safe area to do so. But let's start under the hood. Alright, let's get started on our job. On the passenger side of the engine, we can see our serpentine belt. Before removing this, just pay close attention to the routing of the belt itself. It goes over some pulleys and under others. Now with that said, to remove the belt, we have to pay attention to our tensioner. You can see the tensioner right out in this area here. We're going to be using a 15mm on the center bolt head where you can see the pulley. We'll be pivoting this counterclockwise, releasing tension from the belt, and then we can slide the belt off of the alternator. Now I can remove my tool. Now we can continue on with the rest of the removal of the belt. As I mentioned, it goes over some pulleys and under others. So now that I have it off of there, let's just give it a quick inspection. We're looking to see if it looks like it's cracked, worn, or damaged in any way. If you look in the grooves, if you see any cracks, it's a good idea to replace it. Looking at the backing, inspect that as well. We'll set it aside. Now at this point, let's pause inside of the engine compartment. We're going to safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so we can remove our right front wheel. Okay, let's prepare to remove our front wheel. The first thing you have to do is safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. After you've done that, remove all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts so we can get the wheel off of here. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, let's have a look deep in this area. Now we're going to have to make our way behind this plastic panel. The plastic panel is held in place with 3 plastic push clips. There's one tucked all the way in the front there. On my application, that one's actually missing. Either way, the process for removing these will be the same. I'm going to be using a trim tool. Now, since I am missing my forward one, I'm holding on to my plate or shield so I can remove my final push pin here. Of course, there would be one at the front, as I mentioned. Just a quick inspection of that shield, we can set it aside. With that shield out of the way, it exposes our crank pulley or harmonic balancer. Now, before we start turning the mounting bolt, to be able to remove this, we have to make our way under the front of the vehicle. Let's do that next. So now as I make my way over towards the driver's side, we can see our engine oil pan, our transmission pan. We're looking directly in the center of this area. We have a plastic shield. You can see that there's 2 10mm headed mounting bolts holding this in place. Let's go ahead and remove the pair. After removing those, let's follow this plastic bracket all the way forward. Now this is where you're going to find a 10mm headed mounting bolt. It's fairly difficult to see, but it comes in from the front towards the rear. Take hold of this. wiggle here. There we go. Okay. Now you don't have to fully remove the shield. Just bring it down far enough we can have a look in this area. Now this is where we can see the gears on our flex plate. That flex plate is attached to the crankshaft. This is where we're going to be holding the crankshaft, preventing it from turning. Now you could use a specialty tool, or you could use a small pry bar. If you're using a pry bar, it may be easiest if you had a second person. Now at this point, with that being held, we can make our way back to the crank pulley. Now we can start removing our 24mm headed mounting bolt. With the bolt out of the way, we're going to have our crankshaft pulley removal tool. As far as this tool, looking at the driver, this is the area that would go in towards the crankshaft. We need to make sure we have a pin that would slide into this area. So now if you look in the center, this is exactly where that pin would go, directly here. Looking closely at this, you can see that you have 3 oval ports, and looking deep inside, you can see that there's small circular threaded ports. Those are for mounting bolts. So let's get our tool in place. Now that I have them started in, I'm just going to bring them in a little further. We want to make sure we have several of the threads into that harmonic balancer. Once you have all 3 of the bolts in and you're sure that they're threaded in enough, we'll continue on with the center driver. We're turning this clockwise, which is bringing the center in towards the crankshaft. Once we start tightening this, it's going to be drawing the pulley out and away from the crankshaft itself. I can see it starting to pull away here. Now at this point, I'm going to remove my tool. You can take hold of that and remove it from the vehicle. There it is, friend. A quick inspection and we'll set it aside. Now we're going to clean and inspect the steel around the crankshaft to confirm there's no leaks in this area. We want to make sure it's soft and pliable. Just a quick wipe. It does feel soft, and I don't see any oil leak from this area. Now in this same spot, we need to pay close attention to the crankshaft itself. On the crankshaft, you're going to find that it has one locating tab. It's like a keyway. On the harmonic balancer, you'll have a slot for that to fit into, so it's important to note exactly where that is. Now this can be pretty much on any position of the crankshaft itself. Where my engine is stopped, it's down in this area. It could be, like I said, pretty much anywhere. Just make sure you know exactly where it is. All right, let's get ready to install our harmonic balancer. We'll have a look from the back side. Now as I look in here, I need to apply some clean motor oil directly inside this center area so it can slide over the crankshaft easily. It's going to act as a lubricant. Aside from that, we can see that we do have one small notch or slot. That's for the keyway. Now, of course, that is where the keyway on the crankshaft would have to slide into. So just pay close attention to that. Just spread that oil around a little bit here. And now let's get this in place. Now I'm just aligning this with the crankshaft. I'm gently turning it while I press it in until the keyway aligns. Once I feel like it does align, it should want to go in a little bit further and then stop. Now at this point, you'd want to continue on with a harmonic balancer tool. One with the extended adapter so it can slide all the way inside this area. Now not everybody has that tool. If that's the case, you do not have the proper tool, use your original mounting bolt. Coat it with some clean motor oil, and then let's install this pulley that way. Now that I have this bottomed out, I'm going to continue on with my ratchet. I'm not using an impact tool for this. As I start turning this to tighten it, it should start drawing in that pulley. We want to make sure the engine is not turning over while doing so. This is why we took off that small cover underneath the transmission. If the engine is turning over, you want to make sure you hold the flex plate gears, preventing it from turning on you. Now that I have that bottomed out, I'm going to torque it to 111 foot-pounds. After I've torqued that, I need to continue on an additional 78 degrees. Now as I go to torque this, I will have to have someone hold that flex plate for me, so I have someone under there helping. I've got my torque wrench. There's my 111. Now I'm just going to continue on that 78 degrees as I mentioned. That's close enough. Now while we're still in this area, let's just make sure we clean up any oil residue. We don't want anything making its way on the serpentine belt during the installation of that. A little bit of parts cleaner, clean rag. The installation of the belt will be done from the top, so I'm going to continue on inside this area with my protective cover. The protective cover is going to go across this area. There should be 3 plastic push clips. One would go here, one there, and then one deep towards the front there. And as you know, that one on my application was missing. For these push clips, just line them up with the corresponding ports and drive them into position. Of course, there would be a third one up in the front, as I mentioned. Double check to make sure it's secured so it's not rattling around while you're driving down the road. While we still have the car carefully raised, we're going to make our way underneath the vehicle so we can reinstall that small plastic panel along the transmission. You can see our transmission pan, and here's our plastic shield. 3 mounting bolts for this. 2 on the bottom, 1 on the front. Let's get the front bolt here. Just going to make sure we're aligned. Let's double check to make sure that's all secured in place. A quick inspection in this area, we can reinstall our wheel. Once you have your wheel in place, start on all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts. We'll bottom them out. Get the wheel back on the ground and then torque each lug nut to 100 foot-pounds. Now I've got the wheel back on the ground, let's go ahead and torque these lug nuts to that 100 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Now let's make our way back inside the engine compartment to reinstall our serpentine belt. Now before we install our belt, the next thing we have to do is inspect each one of our pulleys to confirm there's no damage or miscellaneous debris. Everything looks good here. Now when we install the belt, it has to be in the same routing as when we had removed it. Of course, we do have a diagram displayed for you to see. Typically when I install my belt, I like to start down at the bottom area and make my way up. Now we have to use our 15mm on that tensioner, directly on that center mounting bolt. We're going to be pivoting the tensioner counterclockwise. Now I find it easiest when installing the belt to slide it over one of the smooth pulleys rather than over one of the ribbed pulleys. So I'm taking the belt, I'm going to bring it over the alternator pulley, and I'll be carefully removing it from the water pump pulley. I want to make sure the belt doesn't fall out of place, but this is where I typically like to slide it over. Now while I'm holding pressure here, I can slide the belt over that water pump pulley, and this slides right into position. Let's just double check the belt to make sure it's routed properly and seated on each one of the pulleys as it should be, and then we can remove our tool. Feels good down there. Okay friend, we finished our installation. We've already checked to make sure we're over each one of the pulleys properly without the vehicle running, but now we want to start the car. We're going to let it run for approximately 5 seconds and turn it right back off. After that, make your way out here and triple check the belt to confirm it's seated over each one of those pulleys properly. If it's off by even one tooth on one of the grooved pulleys, it's going to destroy the belt and potentially cause other damage. This is extremely important. Assuming it's on there properly, go ahead and close the hood, start the vehicle, and take it for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.